was a death journal. And I would only write, like, how could you do this to me, God? Like, because I didn't understand the mindset I was in at the time. And I would cut myself because nobody knew. But the reason I would do it was because I guess the mental pain was so severe that I honestly wanted to make the physical pain match the mental pain. That's how I saw it, that, like, at that time. And
So, welcome everyone to another episode of Conversations with Sharika. My name is Sharika Saidi, certified life coach, author of An Introduction to Freedom, and of course the host of this show. Today I have a woman who has faced death and lived to talk about it. Today she is the author of San Gabriel Valley Girl, Fighting to Be Me Again. She is also a poet and a teacher and a psychic healer. She's going to tell us all about those things and how she does them. But her name is Rosemary Beatrice Montoya. Welcome to the show, Rosemary.
hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great too, and I'm very honored to be on your show and to have met you.
Myself, definitely honored to have met you too. So we're gonna jump right into it. So we're starting off. I want to hear about the person that Rosemary was before she was in an accident, before she spent days in the hospital. How you grew up, where you grew up, and what kind of person were you before the accident?
So, I was 18 years old when the accident occurred, and before then, I was just about to graduate high school, and I had a lot of, I guess, dreams and aspirations, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, but, I was excited to be an adult. I had been 18 for a couple of months, and excited to do whatever comes along with graduating from high school and starting to become an adult for the first time. And
Okay.
I was always just a very carefree, happy, hyper girl that, just loved life, and I was carefree at the time.
I can imagine. Were you planning to go to college before?
Yes, it was an option. It was something I thought about, I wasn't sure. I thought a 2-year community college was in the cards for me, and, I had certain other things about maybe I'll do some acting, or maybe I'll, try learning to sing better, because I love to write songs, and I've always been a songwriter, and I learned to use my vocals more. So I kind of had like a couple different avenues that I thought I might travel,
Okay.
once. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you grew up in California?
I grew up, born and raised in California, San Gabriel Valley girl.
Okay. So on the day, so I know from what I read on Instagram, and I think I heard you once on Clubhouse, which is when I went and checked out your profile on Instagram. So I know from that you were in an accident, that your sister came out almost scratch-free, but you were seriously injured. What was happening on that day? Where were you guys going?
So I was seeing a guy, and he had given me a car 2 weeks prior to the car accident, and I had, as a newly inexperienced driver, I just got my license, and me and my sister we decided to go on the freeway and visit my mom at work. She was manager at See's Candy at the mall, about 30 minutes away from where we lived. And so me and my sister, we went to go visit my mom on our lunch break, and and we after that, we did a little window shopping, and then we came home, and we were trying to come home, and I got mixed up on the directions of what my mom had told me, and I got on a different freeway, and we were kind of confused, and I was like, you know what, I need to get off on this next exit. And we ended up in the fast lane of the 71 Corona freeway, and it all happened so fast. It just stopped out of nowhere. Like, my car just stopped, like, right there in the fast lane of the freeway. And the sun was setting, literally, at that time. So it was like that nighttime light.
Like evening, yes.
Yeah, and we were pretty much freaking out because we had filled up the tank before we went down there. So we knew we had gas, and we were just freaking out. And I contemplated, let's run across the freeway. So we were like looking behind us, and we realized the cars were coming too fast, and my sister kept saying, let's just do it. But I got scared, and I said no. And I guess what happened was I unbuckled my seatbelt, I opened my driver's side door, and I got out, and I started waving cars to go around me. And I was just praying in my heart that some car would stop and help us. And because, we were stuck right there. And I remember at one time I remember one thing, this car slowed down. I thought he was going to help us, but it was a group of young boys. They were like our age, and they're like laughing at us. And I remember just thinking, how could somebody be laughing at us at a time like this, And anyways, soon after that, my sister yelled at me. That's the last thing I remember. My sister said, Rosemary, get back in the car. That car's not stopping. And anyways, and then the car just hit the back of our car. The police report said, the car was going 60 miles per hour or 65 miles per hour. He just didn't see us. And in my book, I think I wrote 60 miles per hour. But and I was then ejected from my car door that was open 30 feet into the carpool lane, and I was just there. So after the accident, which was the most, I call it that tragic yet fortunate day, but what was so beautiful about it was, yes, not with me, but my sister, the whole car was crushed. The back seats were over the front seats. My car seat was over the steering wheel, and my sister's seat was the only seat in the entire car that was untouched. So she did suffer whiplash, but she was completely coherent after the accident. She wouldn't talk about it for a long time, but when she was able to talk about it, she told me that she saw me. She looked at Rosemary, and she saw I wasn't there, and she looked ahead, and she saw me in the carpool lane, and I looked all mangled. She said, like, one of my legs was over my head, and I was just bleeding on the asphalt, and she thought I was dead. And so cars, do you want me to continue with? And so cars eventually stopped and attended to my sister, and my sister said there was this one nice lady who stopped and let her use my phone. So she called my mom at work, and she said, Mom, she thought I was gone. And then she said, Mom, we were in a bad car accident. And my mom said, what's going on? And she said, are you okay? And my sister said, yeah, I'm okay. She said, what about Rosemary? And then my sister said that she looked at me, and I twitched or something. I was unconscious, but I twitched, and she said, well, she moved. And then from that time on, I was airlifted to Loma Linda Trauma Unit, and I was in a coma. And my sister Desiree was transferred to a different hospital nearby on a stretcher.
That's amazing to think that your sister wasn't even, she didn't get a scar, she didn't get bruised, nothing, just a whiplash. I mean, a whiplash is dangerous, but in comparison to what happened to you, that was miraculous.
It was, and at the time I didn't understand, but looking back now, understanding, like, she went through a lot of trauma, with just of everything that happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fun scene for her at all, and
I can imagine.
And for me, it was just, I always say I was in God's or the universe's hands, at that point. I just didn't know what was going on because I was in a
Yeah, I can imagine. What were some of the injuries that you had?
So when I was in my coma, the first thing they did was a knee surgery. I guess I had two ligaments that I had to have reconstructed, and they were only able to reconstruct one ligament at the time. So while I was in my coma, they reconstructed one of my ligaments, and then eventually, when I woke up from the coma, I learned how to walk again, and it took about, like, here's my leg, I'm sitting Indian style on my couch, so it's just like, it was just straight, it wouldn't move. And so it took about 10 years of excuse me, delete that, about 9 months of rehabilitation to start walking again. And then eventually I had a limp after I learned how to start walking again, so a really bad limp. And they said, you don't have to have the second surgery, it's up to you, but it's always on the table if you want it. And and I didn't think I wanted the second surgery because it was hard having the first surgery. But eventually I did, because about a couple of years later, some mean guys, or some mean people, but they were guys, I was walking my dog one day and they said, learn how to walk, you stupid skinny bitch, and it's in my book, so it's not like and so I remember I went home that day and walking my dog, and I said, Mom, I want to have my second surgery. And that's when my mom said, okay, honey, and she made the second surgery, and that was the surgery that I actually flatlined in. So I literally, that's a whole chapter in my book too, because what had happened was my mom was in the waiting room, and I was really skinny. I had went down to 76 pounds after my car accident.
Wow.
It was just, I guess, being fed on a ventilator for so long, and and naturally being thin, I just couldn't gain any weight. And so, I looked anorexic, and it wasn't my fault. And so when I went into surgery, I was that thin. I was like 80 pounds probably by then. And what they had done was they had given me too much pain medicine. In the end, we find out. So all I remember is waking up in a hospital bed. And I remember, I was like, it was the worst horror movie of my life, because nobody would help me. And I felt like my leg was chopped off. And I remember just not being able to move and being in the worst pain I had ever felt in my entire life. And eventually somebody came to me, and I was able to speak a little bit at that time. And I said, can you please, pain, that's what I was able to say. And they said that we can't give you any. And I didn't understand what was going on. And so eventually they wheeled me into this room, seemed like hours, but I don't know exactly. And my mom came to me and she said, honey, and I said, Mom, I'm so thirsty, I'm in so much pain, can I please? And she said, they can't give you any water or pain medicine for 24 hours. And I guess the reason that was because I guess to revive me, they had to give me adrenaline. And when they give someone adrenaline, I guess according to them, the pain medicine was all taken out of my system when they gave me the adrenaline, and it would interact. So water or pain medicine for 24 hours. I just had to sit there like raw after my second surgery, and so yeah.
So, hold on. So you flatlined when you went back for the second surgery?
Mm-hmm. I flatlined.
What led to that?
Well, at the time, of course, I didn't know, but eventually when my mom was able to let me know what happened, she said that during my surgery, they accidentally gave me too much pain medicine.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if they had maybe on the chart that I was a certain amount of weight or something, and maybe I was, maybe who knows, I would, but so, yeah, so that's what happened. And it was like, it was for like a couple minutes, and people ask me all the time, like, did you see anything? Do you remember? And to be honest with you, I'm just going to tell the truth. I don't, me personally, I know other people have when they've left their body, and I believe them, and I know like that there is, because I have connections with that spiritual realm now more than ever. But during the time that I had actually flatlined, I don't remember anything.
Right. In the initial state, how long were you hospitalized for?
After the second surgery?
No, after the first surgery. How long were you hospitalized for?
I was in a 3 different hospitals total for about a month and a half. I was in a coma for 3 days, and when I awoke from my coma, I had the mindset of like a 5-year-old, I would say. I remember everything though. I remember, can you feel my fingers, and not being able to move them, and trying to open my eyes, but it felt like the biggest job in the world. And so I remember everything. I remember everything, and just a bunch of different mental stages from then on.
So did you have to do therapy to be in? I know you had to do therapy on your leg, but did you have to do speech therapy or any other kind of therapy to bring you back to some sense of normalcy?
So at that time also I had lost my front tooth, my right front tooth. So when I bit my lip off. So when I flew, it makes sense though. You're going to be scared of flying. So without realizing it though, when I flew, I had bit my lip off, and luckily not all the way off because they were able to like sew it back together. But and my front tooth was, so I had a series of 3 surgeries to get a new front tooth as well, and just a bit. But with the mental part, it was just the neurologist had said. During the first year, I had like this cloud that covered my brain. That's the only way to describe it. But little did I know that cloud protected me from reality and knowing how effed up I was. I don't want to cuss on your show, so, but that's when I felt like I was the little girl, and I was kind of like in fun land, and I was just, in la la land, and like you could have said my name was, any name, a famous person, I would have believed you. I was a little kid, and I was just out of it. But the thing that bothered me was there was this big cloud that covered my brain. Like I felt being smothered by it, and I hated that cloud. So my mom eventually took me to the neurologist, and she asked about that cloud, and he said, well, that's when I was revealed about my brain injury, like things that neurologist doesn't know he helped me with in so many ways. He said, one day, in about a year to 2, you'll wake up one morning and that cloud will be gone. But that's when the real suffering will start. And I didn't really understand what he meant at the time until the one day I woke up and that cloud was gone. And I was so happy, but soon that happiness turned to horror and terror, because that all of a sudden I realized I wasn't the same. And I was screwed up, and just I couldn't think the same. I didn't feel the same. Everything, I was not coherent. My attention span, everything about the way I thought and felt was just so eerie and gross. And that's when I began talking or referring to myself as the accident Rosemary and the old Rosemary. And the accident Rosemary was the effed up Rosemary. And the old Rosemary was the Rosemary that was right before the accident, the girl that I loved and that left me, and I felt like abandoned me. And so it was, and he also said that what happened when I flew, my head when it landed on the pavement, it was like a big earthquake. So he said all the cells, it had a bruised brain injury. So it was like my entire head was just bruised. And he said all the little cells and everything that a brain consists of is all meshed around like an earthquake with your particular brain injury. And it takes about 10 to 12 years for someone to heal to the capacity of knowing what they're left with, and for them to like try to find their way home. Right. So that was the type of brain injury I had. So there was nothing that could help me except time.
Except time. Wow, that's amazing, Rosemary. Well, I can't begin to imagine what that must have been like. And I know the part about you feeling like a 6-year-old and acting like a 6-year-old and being a 6-year-old, that part was fun. And then you woke up to reality, right? When the first day when you realized what was happening, what was that like for you?
When I woke up from the coma?
No, not when you woke up.
Or when the cloud lifted?
The cloud disappeared, yeah.
Okay, well, and then, oh, hi, Jedi. Jedis one of my friends that I also met him on Clubhouse too, and he has a great organization like with humanity, bringing humanity together. So he's really nice and great. But anyways, so I remember it was just another ordinary day, and I had a dog named Gizmo, and he would always sleep on my pillow. And I woke up one morning, and this is actually in my book too. And I remember just it was another ordinary day, and then I got up and I was like, wait, like something felt different. And it's interesting how precisely it happened, like the doctor said. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. And I said, the cloud is gone. And then I remember screaming for my mom's name, and I said, Mom, Mom, Mom. And she came rushing. She's like, what's the matter? I'm like, the cloud is gone. Because at first it was exciting because I hated that cloud, but little did I know that was my protective cloud later. And then so I ended up just feeling, it felt very different. It felt like I wasn't being smothered by this cloud anymore, and so that was relieving. But then, all of a sudden, I don't know if it was later that day, it probably was, and all of a sudden, very soon after that, I realized, wait a minute, like, I can't think. I can't, like, I'm off. I keep going back to the word, I want to say the F word, but that's the only way to truly describe the way I felt. Like, I just felt so messed up. And I was like, who is this new girl? I don't know her. Like, it was like being lost in a very ugly part of your mind, in a dark place. It was like, I couldn't think, properly. I felt like I couldn't retain information. I didn't have, like, even an attention span type. Like, I would speak and I wouldn't know when to stop, but sometimes I would, and like I was just all over the place, like, mentally, and it was disturbing because I knew that wasn't who I really am. So but when the cloud was around my head, I didn't know either way. I was just basically, I didn't know anything was, I didn't know I was an accident Rosemary yet. So that's kind of how it was, and that was when the healing stages, like, truly started to begin, and just ups and downs, like the craziest roller coaster ever.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I know that when I share your story, because next week this goes up on YouTube, and I'm going to share it out to everybody in my contacts and so on. And I know that when I share the story, it's going to touch a lot of hearts, because I mean, it's an amazing story. I can imagine. I'm thinking that all of the neurons in your brain got disconnected. All of the memories that were created, everything got disconnected. Did you have memory loss?
In the beginning, yeah, for years. Yes, definitely in the beginning too. The doctor had said to my mom, bring poetry, because I used to write a lot of poetry before my accident. Bring any poetry writings of hers, songs that she used to listen to that would bring back her memory. And I didn't remember anything. And at first I thought my cousin was my brother, and my brother was my cousin, and I knew these people were familiar, but I didn't know exactly who they were. Right. And even my mom was kind of like just this beautiful angelic thing to me, but I didn't really know exactly, but I didn't have amnesia for too long. But that was, it was just, yeah, so during the healing process, there was just, and in my book, I go through every healing process too. But I would say it's amazing though now, because I'm 38 today. My accident was when I was 18. So it's been 20 years. And the way I've healed and the way I've grown and the way everything is today, and I would say I have a chapter called Rosemary Reunites with Rosemary, and that was back in 2009, and that's the first time I felt me being with me again. And just from that day, just every day after that, I just became, first I became too empathetic, meaning, and I would start feeling energies from And that's what helped with me becoming more psychic as I was never, like, I never had abilities before this, but I had to learn to get my empathy under control. That was another stage in my life because it was too much, to the point where I couldn't even see a snail get stepped on. You know, my day would be ruined. It was ridiculous. For a while, it was really ridiculous because it would be like somebody would be cutting down a tree, and I would be like, I get pains in my heart. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but for a couple years, when after that, the energies totally just switched from my problems to the world's, and it became so obsessively like draining. Though I could never do anything, so I eventually saw a therapist and said, what the hell's wrong with me? Like, I can't function. Like, I feel everybody's pain. I feel everybody's, like, the good and the bad. And eventually I started to be like, eventually talked about being an empath and and I did research, and I still can't help but feel and love. That's the core of me, but I've learned to not absorb the emotions like I used to. You know, it's just everything's, even if you're not in a car accident like you, or we all have our own personal life stories and wherever we are, and no matter who you are, whether you're in an accident or not, we all live, learn, and grow spiritually and physically and mentally. The way our life has, I guess, molded us, you know, and if we can choose to just want to use that pain and that suffering to one day, it just makes you stronger and wiser. And just like who I am today, I don't regret anything that's ever happened to me, because I know with all my heart and soul that I wouldn't be half of the person I am today on every level. Half as wise, half as empathetic, half as loving. I've always loved, but I mean, it's just so deep now. I can't, it's hard. But so I don't regret anything, and I'm doing great today. And it's interesting because you're talking about my brain was so horrible. I hated myself so much. But now today, my brain, I feel like, is a super brain. Because I feel like now I can retain information and things and write and I just want to learn everything. I've learned and taught myself so much about the mind-body connection, you know, how our thoughts are energy, how they all vibrate at a certain frequency. How our emotions are energy. Energy flows where energy goes. And I practice meditation, mindfulness, deliberate appreciation. I've been doing this for a couple of years, and it's amazing because now, and I just, you know, about quantum physics and just physics in general, and I just can't wait till doctors and scientists can start studying the core of all the problems of people. And it's always vibration. It always goes back to the root, you know? Like when Albert Einstein said, the future medicine will be the medicines of frequencies. You know, it's like, and now I'm just so obsessed with learning everything about the brain, and I love teaching people the power that they have, and they have so much. And so no matter what you're going through right now, it won't last forever. This too shall pass. And I know what it's like to want to die. I tried, and I hated myself for a long time, but I'm just grateful that I'm definitely not in that place anymore. And now I just like helping people come out of that place, and whether it's through therapy, whether it's through explaining stuff that I've learned and I've practiced, that's how I know it's true. And I meet other people who, you know, and it's, you know, these are scientific facts too. It's not like I'm making these up. A lot of people are like, I don't believe in frequencies, or I don't believe in that. That's like voodoo stuff. And I was like, no, they're facts. They're not just made up. Like, you know, and you kind of have to like teach yourself that this stuff works. And so now I'm doing better today than I've ever been in my life. And I'm not perfect. I still have my downtimes, but I thank my life experience, because I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm supposed to write a book and yada, yada, yada.
Well, I'm grateful that you're doing better, or else I wouldn't have the pleasure of talking to you this evening. And I mean, as I said before, your story is going to inspire a lot of people, right? It's going to give a lot of people courage. It's going to show them that there is hope after whatever you're going through. Because you're coming from a place where you couldn't think clearly. You're coming from a place where you could have, well, you died, right? You died and you came back you died and you're here with us. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. But, well, for me, that's how I see it anyway. Um, I know you said that there were points when you wanted to take your own life and so on. But without you wanting to do it for yourself, did you ever feel like it was over for you? Like there was no hope outside of you wanting to just get it over and done with? Did you feel like there was no hope?
Yeah.
You're there.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine. What saved you? What brought you back? What made you believe that you could?
My mom and my grandma. Meaning, my mom is just, she's a wonderful mom. She always has been, and she's just an amazing person. And I've always been blessed to have the most amazing grandma too. That my mom's mom that I was always close with, like this since the day I was born. And unfortunately, in 2021. It was a year on the 22nd of May that my grandma died, and so that was like another. That's grieving. Grieving is probably definitely the worst feeling in the world. But anyways, and then but my mom and my grandma, because every time I thought about doing it, like I used to cut myself, like. A lot, and I would write in a journal. You know how I always loved to write. Well, there was a time in my life during the darkest times where I had a journal that was a death journal, and I would only write, like, how could you do this to me, God? Like, because I didn't understand the mindset I was in at the time, and I would cut myself because nobody knew, but the reason I would do it was because I guess the mental pain was so severe that I honestly wanted to make the physical pain match the mental pain. That's how I saw it. That like at that time, and I was always given painkillers for my accident. I mean, for my surgeries, I had like Vicodin and everything. So, because and of course, I never got addicted to any of it, but it did help me. I wouldn't have been able to go. It was severe pain I was in, but I do remember those times when I would just cut myself because I wanted, and it somehow gave me somewhat satisfaction because I knew I didn't have control over the way I thought and felt. So it was almost like it gave me like a sense of control. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make you match with how I feel. And I would just do that to myself. And so anyways, during that time though, those were like the really bad times. So those were like in the early 2000s. My accident was in February 17, 2001 was the day of my accident. So I would say like 05 to like probably like when the cloud lifted, I would say maybe from like 03 to 05 was when those were like when I did that. Right. And then I remember eventually I maybe maybe a year or so after that, or like in 06 or something, 07, I started really feeling better in the sense where I wasn't as like that. And I remember I saw that death journal and I threw it away because I knew that I knew that I was elevating and I was getting a little better. It was just stages, so many different stages. But I knew that I wasn't in that place anymore, and I knew that having that with me would only be traumatizing it for the future me. So I ended up throwing that away, and I knew I didn't ever want to read that again. And I stopped cutting myself, and whatever the reason, I think, I just started getting better. But during those times, and every time I actually considered like wanting to truly die and like maybe take a bunch of pills, what always came into my mind was, okay, three things. I could maybe take all the pills and not die, and then I don't know what I would be left with. Or if I did die, what I would do to my mom and my grandma. They are the main ones because I love them so much, and I knew they loved me so much. I just couldn't do that to them. But I used to always tell myself, if something ever happened to them, I would definitely do it. But of course, that was just my mindset at the time. But it was my mom and my grandma who stopped me from truly killing myself during those hard times.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Well, look at you now, right? You're you're thriving and writing and doing poetry, and you're doing it all. I mean, what kind of therapy and what do you teach? What kind of therapy do you do?
I do lots of it's talk therapy, but I also the people that I work with and that or that somebody would bring to me who was like suicidal, or I have worked with people who were suicidal, and I'm able to talk to them and coax them into understanding that where you are right now will not last forever. Right. And it seems like something you should just know, but when you're in those times of deep depressions and deep hurting, I know what it feels like to be there, and I'm just thankful that I never went there. But I like letting them know that where you are right now is just right now, and this too shall pass. My mama used to always tell me that all the time. That was like the famous thing she always told me. This too shall pass, honey. This too shall pass. So I always just kept that in some, and I'm able to talk them into understanding, and then I end up talking to them and teaching them about their power, their own natural God-given power, of the power of their minds, of when I was telling you about with all the research and just studying I was doing about not just the updated science, because quantum physics is the updated science, and like the science we were taught in high school, or I was Newtonian physics, and Newtonian physics was that science, but it's upgraded to quantum physics. That's the new updated science. So I know everything about that. Well, I don't know if I know everything, but I have taught myself so much and enough to teach other people about, the thoughts and the energies and how you can retrain your mind to think and what it takes is reach for a better feeling thought, think a better feeling thought, let them know that they have more power than they feel they do. Yeah. And that you always have a choice. You have a choice. Like, if I'm in, whatever the negative momentum, and everything's about momentum, and I like teaching about momentum and how, and again, I know this because not only do I study it, but I also practice it, so I can prove it to myself, and so I like to show other people, and just momentum, meaning like if you have a negative thought, or you're watching in the news, or something negative is going on, it's okay. We're human. We're going to experience contrast, and bad things are going to happen sometimes. We can't escape that. Where our power lies is in how long we give our attention to that thought, to that situation, to that idea. And so understand contrast is beneficial to us if we accept it for what it is and not stay there long. So accept, okay, this happened, I don't like this. So as soon as you can, think a better feeling thought, do something that feels better. Say, if you have mantras, are great too, because I have a few mantras that when I feel myself falling down, I'll say things like, day by day in every way I'm getting better and better. Day by day in every way I'm getting better and better. Like, I'll repetitively say that, like, if I have to say it 30 times in a row, so be it. But it's getting or things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me. There's so many different mantras, but any of them work, because what the power of mantras, the true power of them, lies in that they get your focus off of what's wrong. So when you distract yourself from the problem, whatever it may be, whether you're worrying about the past, present, or future, if you distract yourself from the problem sometimes you just need an immediate, it's like, where do I go? So if you can't just go to sleep right then and there, then you say those mantras over and over again, 10 to 50 times if you have to, and then what that does in a row, and what that does is it starts getting the momentum moving up the emotional scale rather than falling down. And so it's kind of like climbing up the well. And then you realize, once you get yourself out of that place where you haven't fell and you've been climbing, it's easier for you to reach for a better feeling thought. Right. And focus on something else. It's a nice little leverage thing that the mantras, I found the most beneficial with the mantras are those. And and that's how they helped me. And eventually, like, I would say give yourself 30 days. An average person, I would say 30 days is a good amount of time to prove to yourself. Sometimes it's sooner, sometimes maybe it could be longer, but to prove to yourself that you do have so much power that you were never taught, because they don't teach this in schools for some reason. They don't teach. It's like they say, what, we have 5 senses? We don't have 5 senses, honey. We have 6 senses. And the 6th sense is intuition. And I always tell people, if I would have been taught intuition and trusting myself and knowing what those strong feelings are, I would have never have owned that car. Because I can't tell you how much I didn't want that car, but I didn't want to feel ungrateful. But I knew there was something wrong with it. I just felt it. Again, intuition is just knowing without knowing. It's that strong, powerful force inside you, like spirit talking to you, from telling you this isn't right. I think
that's exactly what it is. For me, I think that's what it is. So for me, if I'm coming out of a house and something says take this up, or even if I'm outside and I need to turn back, I usually, whatever I get the nudge to do, I usually just do that. And when I don't, I'm always left like saying, Sharika, you really need to start listening more, always, because I always find that the thing that I didn't do, that I was prompted to do, I needed that thing further down, whether it's in the day or it's the next day or it's further down the week. But I always. So I think it's spirit. Definitely think it's spirit speaking to us. How is your sister? My condolences on your grandmother, by the way.
Thank you.
How is your sister doing?
My sister is doing very, very good today. She has a son that is 11 years old, my nephew Eli, and she's doing great, and she's doing the best she can, and she has a beautiful son, and we're still close, of course, and I love them both more than anything. And then I have another sister too. My mom had 3 girls, so I'm the oldest, and then the second one is Marissa. I have another sister named Marissa, and she has a little girl that's 13. And so we're all 3 of us are close, and I'm an auntie, and I'm an animal mother. I don't have any kids of my own, but I'm definitely an animal mother. And I actually have 2 other sisters that are my half sisters. My dad had 5 girls, so my mom and dad, and eventually had 2 more girls, and they're wonderful too. And so
that's amazing.
I want to be an example, a positive example for everybody, and just follow my life purpose. I mean, we all only live once, is who we are today. So and if if I could help, since I finally know my purpose, I like helping other people try to realize theirs too.
Figure out where there's, agreed, 100% agree with that. Okay, so we're winding down, but I'd love to hear a little bit about you being psychic.
Sure.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so let's see. So I would say it all started. Well, when the chapter I said Rosemary Reunites with Rosemary, when I started feeling myself finally coming back to me, and it started with all those like empathy and out of control things. I would also, I would start to get like very vivid dreams about like the other side, I guess you would say, and people that had passed on, and they would like come to me in dreams sometimes and like share little bits of information, of encouragement, and just I would feel them. Like sometimes I would feel, or even someone that I didn't know that wasn't family, like someone that had passed on, like I would feel like I would hug them in my dream, and I would just feel like something that I never felt even when hugging someone when I'm on planet Earth, like meaning like when I'd hug my grandma and my mom, I feel so much love. But in the dream, when these people would hug me, it was so vivid, but it was the crazy. The love was so beyond pure and so beyond gentle. And then eventually, when I started getting the feelings of teaching myself more about energy work and stuff, I started meditating every day. And meditating is what really allowed that I really started getting so connected with the spiritual realm. Just 15-20 minutes a day is all you need. You don't need to spend your life meditating away, but it's very but just like 15-20 minutes a day, I made myself, like I said, I just started making myself do all these practices that they said were good and that were positive things. And I would close my eyes and I would listen to like a drop of a faucet or the air conditioner, and eventually, after a couple of weeks, I got really good at tuning out and just falling into the moment. And I would get like messages like that were so, like I would feel like just like it wasn't me thinking them. I guess I was able to finally relax enough where I was able to let things in. And sometimes I would be advised to do something and that ended up really benefiting me. And then so it started like that. And then I started learning about, visualization and healing. And I got really good at that. And I started, at one time I had fibromyalgia real bad. And during a meditation, I was basically advised on what to do to get rid of it. And so I followed. It felt so good. It's like pure love. Like whatever that is, it's like vibration talking to you. So it's not voices. Like it's just, you can hear them, but without words. It's just feelings. And so I would just listen to the feelings, and they would say. So I would start doing visualizing, and I just loved feeling the power through meditation so much. I just kept doing it, and then I listened to what they say, and eventually after a month or so, I completely healed myself of my fibromyalgia. And that was probably back in like 2014 when I did, my body hurt all the time, but eventually I was able to just I didn't have it anymore. And then I started to realize, okay, let me start trying to do it on other people. And then there's a lot of stories, but and I can't. And I just my family, my animals, or even just people who like told me, "Can you just do a prayer or visualization on this person?" And coincidentally, I don't think so, but because I believe Carl Jung, and there's only synchronicities. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Coincidences coincide because of the energy. People say, "Oh, that's just a coincidence."
It actually means things coming together. So
yeah, and like Carl Jung said, there's no such thing as a coincidence, it's a synchronicity. And then so I would do like healings on other people, and I just got really good at visualizing. And the main thing is you visualize the end result, not where you are. Like maybe for a couple seconds you see where you are, whether it's for yourself or your loved one, and you just see them where they are for like a couple seconds. But the main thing is you just see them fastly coming out of it, slowly but surely, and then you spend most of the visualization time on their wellness, wherever they are.
Where you want them to be. Not hearing you. I'm not hearing you, Rosemary. Not hearing you at all. Can you hear me?
Okay, there it was. Someone had called me, and so and so I got rid of it. And then I just started realizing before the pandemic, when I was like able to interact with people one-on-one, I would just I would feel their energies, and I would feel like I would just know certain parts of them, like I don't know, like spirit or however you want to call it, the universe would just let me know, like guide me to what their specific problem was and how to feel better. And then I just would hear, just those vibrational voices, and they're just pure love, and they just want, that's all I know, is that they're just pure love. And And I guess, and I just feel like, and I've, and from what I've been told, that everybody that I've worked with, that they just have positive experiences with not only their thoughts, but with whatever they needed to be healed, and the right advice and stuff. And so I guess it's more like that. And of course, when my grandma died, or when my uncle ended up dying like a couple of months after, which we're going to go spread his ashes this week in Yosemite, because that was his favorite place. And we're going to go there. Like, it's hard. It's so hard, obviously. So you have to grieve. Everyone grieves differently. But once you realize, like, there is no such thing as death, like, meaning the physical death, but like that, I feel, since I can have that connection now, I know in my heart that the soul never dies. I mean, the soul is energy, and energy never dies, but you want to know real quick, just for everyone, the real true thing that made me know this more than anything was when my grandma died. She was in hospice for the last, week at her house, and the night before she died, I was on her hospice bed, and just my uncle was playing the guitar, and everyone was there, and I was just sleeping with her on her hospice bed, and I was hugging her and just, loving her. And I felt like the most positive energy, even though she was obviously leaving this world. I felt like the energy was like, oh my God, like the most strongest energy of powerful love I could feel. And obviously it's a sad time. I'm like devastated inside, but I could feel this energy. Well, the next morning, I had left like at 5 a.m, and then like at 8, my mom calls me. After a couple of hours after I left, and she said, Grandma just died. And so I go back over there, and her body is just there on the hospice bed, and I went to hug it after she died, and there was nothing there. Like, that same body that I just hugged a couple hours prior, when her life was still in her, was just magnetically powerful and just love. Like, she was just getting ready to leave somewhere else, but it was so positive, the energy. So when I hugged her body after, and she was just her shell, just Grandma's shell, it was just dead. There was nothing there. I hugged it, and I felt just nothing. And like, where did that energy go? Where did that powerful energy I just felt a few hours prior, when her life was still in her? That's how I really just could understand and know for sure that soul had, went somewhere good. And then after grieving for like a while, I eventually realized maybe this advice can help somebody else who's lost somebody. But what really helped me after Grandma left me and everybody was this. One time, after so much grieving and sadness and turmoil, and just, she was my best friend. My mom's my best friend too, but it was like us three, we're one. And so anyways, when she died, one day I was crying so much, and I heard something, again, not a voice, but like a vibrational feeling. And it said, don't look for her where she used to be. And so I didn't understand exactly what that meant at first, but then eventually something said, feel for her. And then I just was like, okay. And then anyways, eventually I realized that's when I started to feel a different relationship with my grandma. And so I still know she's with me. Like, I can, because I was only able to connect with her after I stopped grieving and after I stopped looking for her where she was. And sometimes I still like miss her, like, of course, like crazy, like, because I can't just call her up on the phone and say, Grandma, she lives right down the street from me. Like, well, where I live, I made sure I got a house that I'm literally walking distance from where my grandma lives. That's how close to. I saw her all the time. We were like, and so sometimes I still go over there and I ride my bike and just see who lives there now. I don't know who lives there, but I just look. But I'm able to gain a spiritual relationship with my grandma, and it's pure love, and I just feel her by me, and even my uncle, and they come to me in dreams too sometimes. But when I'm consciously awake, I find I don't grieve like that anymore, because I know she's just the physical. Her body is gone or dead, but not her root, her soul.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So that's
amazing. That's amazing, Rosemary. Well, you've been on quite the journey. You've looked death in the face. You've overcome. It took you years. You were at a point where you couldn't walk properly, and now you walk. Now you can talk. Now you can think, and now you can help other people. So that's truly amazing. I am super, super happy that I met you and that we were able to have this conversation.
Me too. Me too.
Yes, I have 2 more questions for you, 2 final questions. The first one is, what impact do you want to make on the world?
The impact I would like to make on the world is one of positivity, obviously, but one of just more teaching and more understanding, meaning I want like people to just understand and know their power more than what they know. Too many people just don't get it, that they're more powerful, and that their brain and their thoughts and their and their emotions consist of so much power through their energy, and how their lives can change. And a lot of people teach this stuff. I'm not the only one, but just get it more widespread and more known, and it's so and it's so simple and beautiful, but most people don't know about it. And if they understand that it does come from, everyone is like, oh, if science says it's true, and science does say it's true about this, but for some reason the scientists and doctors don't teach people about this. I mean, I have my nephew, my beautiful nephew, the love of my life. Or I shouldn't. Well, yeah, he after Grandma died, he got. Well, my sister has told everyone, it's on her page, but he's only 11, and he was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder, and he, and so he's gone to the children's hospital many times, how to get blood transfusions, and they don't teach him that. They only talk about medicine or this or that. And I said, Eli, so I had to teach my nephew about the power of his thoughts and his emotions, and visualizing and meditation and stuff. And so once he started doing this, he is so powerful now. Like, he's not completely better, but he hasn't had a blood transfusion in months. And also he says, if anyone ever says anything about being sick, he's like, there's nothing wrong with me, and maybe he's not all the way better, but I know he's on the path, and I know that eventually he is going to be all the way better, and he's going to be one of the children of the future that's going to teach people about the mind-body connection. And he's a young kid, and he's going to, in generations to come, we all just keep evolving and evolving. And I know everything he's going through now, just like everything what I went through, is only going to make him stronger, wiser, and become a teacher. Yeah. And he's so, and I just want to teach children. I want people, so I guess my answer to continue it is, I want people to be started, for people to start being taught this at a younger age, so they can grow up knowing this stuff. Like I told you, if I would have known this, I wouldn't think about it. If we were taught that we had six senses instead of 5, like the intuition sense, how many things can we avoid if we just knew to trust ourselves? Yeah,
absolutely, I agree. And my next question is, and I hope this question doesn't offend you in any way, if you could be at your own funeral, what would you like to hear people say about you?
To be honest with you, I just like the people, like my family now, and what they always tell me now is let's. I know we always want to pray, like, no, you go for, like, we don't want any of our family members to ever go. It's like, I don't want to go, but then I don't want you to go. And then, like, I just have, like, my other 2 family members who have passed, so it's like, so it's like, God, but we know, obviously, death is inevitable, and as we know that I died once, and luckily I'm alive. But just what my family tells me now is, they tell me, just how I help them so much, and how wonderful I am, and how they just love me so much, and that I'm just such a great person, and I just love helping everybody, and I'm just, they tell me that today, which I'm grateful for, but I would assume that the same type, I don't want to give too much momentum into it, but I would imagine the same that type of stuff,
Yeah.
I had a really great heart, and that I just love helping people, and that I'm a strong fighter and survivor, and I'm not a victim of my past. And I also like to teach people, you're not a victim of your past, because there's some stuff that happened in my past too that I don't even talk about in my book, that no one knows. But and most people, it's like that with their whole life, because they don't write a book, right? So whatever has happened to you in your past doesn't matter. It all starts from now and forward. It's like it's what you give your energy to now is what the universe is attracting. So it's like when we regurgitate and think of old past things that make us feel bad, the energy is going to respond to those vibrations, and we're going to fall more in that trap. But if you can teach yourself, you can retrain your brain with just about 30 couple weeks of making yourself think differently, a better feeling thought. That's really the energy work. Make yourself think better feeling thoughts. Make yourself distract yourself from the problem. Make yourself do what feels better. I mean, is it really that bad to feel better? I mean, instead of watching the news all the time, what makes you laugh? Me, I Love Lucy, or I was going to say Family Matters. Family Matters was something I used to watch a lot when I was a little kid, but I don't watch it anymore. But there's so many funny shows, and laughter really is one of the greatest medicines, because it helps you vibe higher, and it helps you. There's been people, I've heard stories of people who've laughed their illnesses away or laughed their cancer away, because it's when you it's just the key is
it's the vibration, the higher you are, the better you are.
Yeah, and so it goes. We can talk probably for hours about this, but we don't have the time to do that. But yeah.
Okay, so my final question is, well, maybe you've already answered this question, but it would have been, how do you maintain your desired state of being?
Say that one more time.
How do you maintain your desired state of being?
Obedient?
No, being. B-E-I-N.
Oh, being. How do I maintain my desire of being?
Desired state of being. So how do you maintain your joy, so to speak, or your high vibration?
So before I go to sleep at night, I make sure I don't fall asleep to the news or anything negative, like a scary movie or anything. If I'm going to watch the news or something scary, it'll be during the day and not often. But so before I go to sleep, since we're about to zone off into a slumber, I watch something funny, or I listen to a soft meditation or calming noises like waves, or a calming meditation with soothing words, or like a funny movie, or something that makes me laugh, like Dave Chappelle or Jay Leno, like old Jay Leno things. He used to do headlines. Those always made me laugh in high school, and I still put them on to this day, and they still make me laugh, and they'll make me forget about anything. So I just go to bed feeling good. That's number one. And then while you slumber, you sleep. When you wake up, what I do, because remember, it's vibrational practice. It's just energetic practices. And it means everything. So I'll give you the routine. So then I wake up in the morning, and I wake up, maybe my cat will be by me or whatever, wherever and I will bask in my bed I won't look at my phone right away. I make sure my phone I don't look at my phone for at least 10 minutes after I wake up. I get up and I kind of just feel around and say, I'm so thankful for my bed. I'm so my cat, or this feels good, and try to just wake up appreciating what I do have. And so only go there. So then when I wake up, it's in a positive mindset. Therefore, it's starting my day on a positive route. And so that helps a lot too. And then when I get up, I do my thing. I make some coffee, and I just and then when I do look at my phone, it'll be, usually I like to look at my phone after I meditate, but sometimes I do it before. I'll either walk my dog before or after I meditate for like 15-20 minutes. And then I feel like with meditation, even just by doing those 15-20 minutes, it makes your days I don't meditate are way more not as smooth. They're not as smooth as days when I do meditate, and I'm able to handle problems and things that come at me so much easier. Like with maybe if someone gets mad at me for something, or something was to happen, like I guess you would say emotional intelligence. When you meditate, the only thing I could say is it sets your day for just able to handle things with confidence and ease and grace, in which you probably wouldn't be able to do it without the meditation. Meaning, if I was going to have an argument with someone who called me and started getting mad at me, or whatever, maybe someone would try to pick a fight with me for whatever reason. If I meditate first, I don't know how this happened, but it's happened time and time again. I'm able to just gracefully just smooth it out, and it never even goes there, and I don't even let it, just somehow I'm able to just. And so meditating, and then deliberate appreciation. When I walk my dog, I just deliberately appreciate things, that I appreciate you, flower. It sounds ridiculous, but those little things matter, because the universe is responding to all of your active vibrations in every here and now moment. Your power is always now. Now, literally every second. So obviously we're not going to be perfect all the time, but the more I try to do that more of the time, or so when think of a better feeling thought when something negative happens. And I'm at the point now where I've trained myself to think better feeling thoughts. In the beginning, it wasn't easy, but that's why you have to just say, you know what, I deserve to feel better, I deserve to feel healthier, and I deserve to attract more things positive in my life. And the truth is that I've learned is the only way to do that is you do the energy work. You have to make yourself do more positive things, and even if you're in a job you don't like right now, it's think, okay, it won't be forever, but what can I think about while I'm waiting for the job to come? Or just try to find positive aspects in things and situations. That's another thing. Try to look for the positive aspects in things.
Yeah, I get it. And you're not silly about the plants. You're not silly. If you see how excited I got the other day when my anthurium finally bloomed.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
My anthurium, my plant, it finally bloomed.
Yes.
And I got so excited. And then the other day, there's this pothole in the road en route to where I take my daughter to school, right? And on Monday, not Monday, it was Wednesday when I was taking her to school, the pothole was gone, and I was so excited. And the things that you get excited about.
And people around, you're so right. And the people around you might think, what is that? That girl's being a little too happy, but who cares what other people think? Sometimes I'll be at the beach, or I'll be wherever I am, and I'll just start laughing, and some people are like, you laugh way too loud, and they get embarrassed because I laugh too loud. I'm like, I'm like, I don't care, it feels good. And then and I'm like, oh my God, I'll just be walking my dog, and there'll be a squirrel. There was a squirrel in the tree the other day, and people around me probably thought I was crazy, but the squirrel was just looking at me and my dog, eating in the tree, and he literally talked. I didn't even know squirrels could talk, but this squirrel goes, mark, mark. He started or he made a noise, he was talking to me, And I'm like, wait, what? And that's when I looked up and saw that squirrel, and I was like, are you talking to me? And then I'm like, that's what I'm like. And then I'm with my dog, and I'm like, and I just, for the heck of it, I said, are you talking to me? Like, and there's other people on the street too, but I don't care if they're there. And then the squirrel's looking in my eyes, like he's like making noises, and I just start saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. I'm so happy you're talking to me," or just. And it sounds ridiculous maybe to certain people, but when you get in that place where you're just appreciative for being alive, and you're just appreciative for small things like that. Oh, that flower is beautiful. That tree, I'm so grateful for you. Sometimes I'm walking, I'm so grateful for my 2 legs and my 2 knees, and I could walk again, just all these things, like just little things is just, just get that momentum flowing, and then whenever you're down, that's okay, and know that that's okay. Just do whatever you can to try and not stay there too long, because that's when you want to just take contrast for what it's worth. And it's not a bad thing, but it's only bad if you stay there too long, because
yeah, I know. Okay, Rosemary, it was an absolute pleasure to have you. You are an amazing guest. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being open with your story. Thanks for sharing with us. And as I said before, I know that this is going to be an inspiration to a lot of people, so I'm looking forward to sharing it out on my YouTube channel. But again, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You do the same. And guys, thank you so much for joining, each and every one of you. We are grateful for your support. If you're not following me as yet, I am here every Thursday sharing another amazing story. And if you resonated with Rosemary, do give her a follow as well. Or if you want to start your journey of connecting to the divine, purchase a copy of my book. It's called An Introduction to Freedom, and it will get you started on that journey. But until next week, I wish you all a very happy rest of Thursday and rest of week. Goodbye. Bye, Rosemary.
And don't forget to buy my book too.
Oh, yes. Her book is called San Gabriel Valley Girl, Fighting to Be Me Again. And trust me, based on the conversation that we just had, it's going to be an epic story to read. So definitely get a copy of her book as well, and follow her as well to learn more about her. You're welcome.
Great talking to you.
Same here. Bye.
Bye.